You do you. That's how you navigate a midlife crisis. That's the advice that a therapist gave one of our viewers. I'm actually quite qualified to talk about this because I'm currently going through a midlife crisis.
You are?
Yeah, you know this. I have been for years.
Oh.
Mended light. Okay, so how do you navigate a midlife crisis, and what does that even mean? You are coming up on like a third life crisis.
What? You're only a few years older than me.
I know, but you're going to outlive me by decades. You take much better care of yourself than I do.
Okay.
What? Thanks. Wow. I was expecting, that's not true. We eat the same things. We eat the same things, but I eat like 3 or 4 times as much. Anyways, listen, I'm about halfway through my life, and I've done a lot of reflecting and soul searching, like on the choices that I've made, on what I've done with my life so far, on what I still want to do. And it is a time of sheer panic for a lot of people, because when you're younger, you just think, I've got time. And then at a certain point you realize, oh, like I better get busy with the things I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or I have, and I'm not as fulfilled as I thought I was.
Buy the sports car.
So buy the sports car.
Get the younger spouse.
Well, not for me.
Okay.
I mean, we're about the same age, but no, I just want to keep you.
Aww.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm not doing you any favors. I don't know why I said that. But it is a time of panic and terror, and people... There's a Clear and Present Danger, movie Clear and Present Danger. The President of the United States says to Jack Ryan that you should never make important decisions when you're upset. And the problem with midlife crisis is people get into this gear of upset, and then they stay there for months or years, and they make all sorts of majorly life-altering decisions in the headspace of panic.
So would you say like it's from a place of fear, or a place of like making those decisions from a place of fear, of missing out, of getting old?
It's
like,
FOMO.
Yeah. Whatever it is, like it's some form of fear.
There are things that I want to do with my life that I'm not doing.
And
so
who knows if I'll ever do them.
Yes. And look, this is totally understandable. The issue with the advice that this therapist gave one of our viewers, which is you do you, is that most crap advice is good advice dialed up to 11 to where it becomes an extreme. And then it becomes crap advice. You do you is not terrible. Like, you should do the things that bring you fulfillment.
Right.
If you put yourself entirely on the back burner, that's no way to live either. You should be involved in the things that bring you joy. But you do you to an extreme is...
Without concern or consideration for how that's going to affect the other people in your life.
I see...
Typically a partner, a spouse, children. Like you're so focused on you.
We've both seen people who decided,
right,
after they had a spouse and they had kids, I just don't want this anymore. Mm-hmm. And they just walked away from it.
It's too much.
Yeah, and the spouse and kids are like, well, like, want us or not, we exist, and you've got responsibilities towards us. So how do you think? I'm going to turn to you, because I'm just a hot mess over here. No, how do you think we find that balance between our responsibilities and, like, because you've been doing this a lot lately, like evaluating what do I want out of life, what are the things that haven't been working for me, and how am I going to make pivots towards those things, towards the life that I want, rather.
Yeah. Well, and for me, it's also a long-term vision that I've had, that there are times and seasons.
Yeah.
Right. And I recognized with the 5 children that I had, like, that was a time and season of them being babies and toddlers. And granted, there's a 10-year gap. So we were babies, toddlers, children, and older children. And then that, just kept moving. But the baby is 6 now, right? And that's a very different season than babies and toddlers, right? And so, taking the time. So now there is the energy and the bandwidth to focus on things more consistently that are important to me. Yeah. And recognizing the times and seasons, but also the circumstances of your specific life. I get really, really sick when I'm pregnant, like hospitalized, sick, right? Yeah. And so I literally spent like 9 months being so sick, and then the baby would be born, And then we basically have a 2-year gap between our kids, one of them a little less. And so I would literally spend,
The better part of a year,
yeah, the
deathly
next
ill every other year.
right. But then the next 15 months, literally rebuilding my health so I could go through
All of it again.
yeah, and I did that every
Gosh.
other year for 6 years, right? So even when I wasn't pregnant and deathly ill, there wasn't the energy, there wasn't the bandwidth to do anything else except for take care of the needs of the of the household, right? And when I say there wasn't the bandwidth, I mean I went out to dinner with friends. I took time to do things that I enjoyed, but the consistency, just wasn't there. Like I always wanted to do martial arts, like MMA stuff. And
Yeah.
I couldn't, not in that season of my life.
And learn guitar.
Right. I just didn't have the energy to be consistent with those things, even though I wanted to do them, right? Because it was a bit of survival mode. And so recognizing that I'm now in a different time and season, and there's still a ton of work to be done. The kids, as they get older, their physical needs decrease, meaning like I don't need to change people's diapers or clothes or help them go to the bathroom or wash their hands.
Yeah.
Frankly, I don't even cook most of the meals in the house anymore. I have 3 children that I have taught how to make food, and everybody helps, And so I don't do the dishes. I don't clean the kitchen anymore. I don't clean a bathroom.
You did your time.
Right? But it's like, but because I have children that can do those things, and it's part of their character development for them to learn how to do those things so they can be well-functioning adults. And it's not that I don't work. I still do plenty of work, business and household wise.
But times and seasons, you're
Right.
entering into a season where you can take more time for yourself.
Yeah, I can consistently take 2 or 3 times a week for 2-hour blocks of time to do the things that are important to me that I enjoy.
Speaking of which, she's getting pretty adept at martial arts. So don't cross this woman. And your guitar skills are very good. So it's awesome.
So fun.
Well, and the way I look at it, there may be people who tell you differently, but I don't think there is fulfillment in just looking out for number one, and just looking out for yourself all the time, and just doing what you want to do all the time. It's good for a while, but at a certain point, it feels empty because you don't get the joy that comes from lifting others or helping others or bringing joy to others, and the connection that brings.
Right.
And so it's all about
Having
balance.
that connection and that support.
Yeah. So how am I navigating my midlife crisis? To me, it's not a crisis because I've spent years doing the things that I feel like I've been put on this earth to do. And so I don't feel that sense of panic. I do feel a sense of my own mortality. I do feel like, I've lost enough people who've died at a young age, as well as people who were my age when I was growing up, and now they're older and they're passing away. And to really drive home, we've only got a certain number of years to do whatever it is that we're going to do. And as I evaluate what I've done with my life so far, there are pivot points and there are changes to be made and there are regrets that are growth experiences, right?
That you can use as a catalyst for change,
Yeah.
instead of a catalyst to do something extreme that you're going to regret
And you need to
or
be able
potentially
to
could regret.
Yeah. And you need to be able to say to the people in your life, hey, I want to make some changes because I don't feel especially fulfilled. Can I have your support in that? And, if the answer is no, then you want to take a long, hard look at those relationships. Maybe they can be helped with Mended Light or a team of therapists elsewhere. Maybe, but I don't think the answer is just to jettison a relationship because you're having a midlife crisis. But there is truth that there are people who they let go of. I wasn't getting supported. I wasn't getting what
Unhealthy.
I wasn't in a healthy relationship, and I stayed for a long time. And now I'm looking at what I want the rest of my life to look like, and I don't want this. And that can be a healthy, beautiful thing. But that decision, to be a healthy decision, is usually going to come from a place of calm level-headedness,
Right.
of assessing what you want in your life. It's not going to come from a place of crisis or panic. Because I've known people who have divorced their spouse, for example, and that was absolutely the right decision. And I've known people who divorced their spouse and then regretted doing it.
Right.
and that the grass wasn't greener.
And it's important to recognize, like, where are you making those decisions from? Like, is it a place of peace and nurturing and understanding and change for what you want differently in your life? Like, I would say that's healthy change. But if you're making that decision from a place of fear or FOMO or I want to feel young again,
Yeah.
you know, like those things aren't real, and you will reap what you sow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and if you want to feel young again, take good care of yourself. I've started recently getting a lot more exercise, and I do feel different. And so there are healthy ways to approach a midlife crisis and unhealthy ways. So we want to thank you for joining us for That Therapists Say. If you enjoyed this video, here's some other crap that therapists say. You just need to get past it.
Get over it.
Just move on. Just deal with it, because I don't want to have to deal with it. I want you to deal with it.
So what have you done to work through your midlife crisis? Or what's some terrible advice therapists have given you?
We want to know. Let us know in the comments below. As always, like, subscribe, click the bell, tell your friends, keep shining because we need your light. And here comes the video we promised you, because we deliver like the hot pizza delivery guy, because I'm 20 again.